for the Daily Beast. Anyway, Tea Party Congressman Mo Brooks of Alabama, who was on this program last week, is revving up the Red Hots in spectacular fashion. During an interview with conservative radio host Laura Ingraham today, Congressman Brooks rejected the idea that the GOP's hardline stance on immigration is hurting the party. Here's his counterattack.
This is a part of the war on whites that's being launched by the Democratic Party. And the way in which they're launching this war is by claiming that whites hate everybody else. It's a part of the strategy that Barack Obama implemented in 2008, continued in 2012, where he divides us all on race, on sex, greed, envy, class warfare, all those kinds of things. Well, that's not true.
So who do I start with, Michelle or Michael? I mean, I don't even like talking like this. In fact, I don't even say racial, I say ethnic. But this thing about war on whites, what's this guy kind of start? He seemed like a dignified bloke last week, and now he's out there raging with the storm.
Well, there are probably people who are listening to what he says and feel that way and feel that he is saying exactly what they believe.
What do you mean? Interpret this, channel this. Who says the president's leading a war on whites?
Well, I think it's the loudest voices of the far right in the Republican Party believe, as well as their constituents believe, that somehow the president and probably the people that they view as loving the president, Democrats, African Americans in particular, and Latinos as well, are waging a war on whites. It's this old sentiment that the pie belongs to all of us, and by us I mean by whites. The pie belongs to all of us. We've got this African American president in here. We've got Latinos who have a stronger voice. We've got all of these women who are siding with Democrats. They're taking something away from us. Don't they understand?
Are women included among whites? There's an assumption, white men. I think it's an assumption, white men of a certain age.
It's white men of a certain age. It is the men, it is the people, I believe, that Barack Obama referred to years ago when he said people get scared and they cling to their religion.
Does it include gay people? I'm trying to narrow this down, Michelle. What does it mean? What is he even thinking about it?
It is working class whites and probably also very wealthy whites, over $100,000 a year, that vote Republican and feel that the Republican Party understands their plight and understands the plight of those for whom they see the country as a disaster because people of color are taking away what they believe rightfully belongs to them.
Throw this in, if you can, into the general woodpile of attacks on this president, which is he's deserving of ignominy, removal, delegitimization. He's somehow something else. Because if he's against whites, he's got a problem. There's an awful lot of them.
Yeah, true.
And it's a strange thing to be against politically if you want to get a majority vote.
Yeah.
Well, and particularly given that so many whites voted for him, right? I mean, blacks didn't put him in office. Whites did.
It goes back to the very beginning of the administration, the very beginning of his campaign, and the birther talk and all the rest of it, which you've discussed many times. It goes back to Glenn Beck saying in 2009, what was the exact comment? He has an antipathy to white culture or something like that. And so that was Glenn Beck. That was a TV guy. Now it's an elected official. Now it's getting a little bit more serious.
And he's nobody's fool, Glenn Beck.
No,
you may not like his arguments, but he's thought it through.
Right. But Brooks is trying to do what Michelle said. He's trying to
let's take a look.
He's trying to get that 57%.
Anybody
number
thinks
up
this is
even
all
higher.
being concocted out of the White House should listen to these voices out there. Besides the 57% of Republicans, rank and file, who tell pollsters they want this guy impeached. Anyway, red-hot ringleader Steve King of Iowa, he's the U.S. congressman, by the way. He gladly used Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace yesterday as his megaphone for his impeach Obama bugle cry. And the White House probably couldn't have been happier, as I said. Our own Chuck Todd lampooned the notion that the White House was in cahoots with Fox News chairman Roger Ailes and Fox News Sunday host Chris Wallace to book King in the first place. As Chuck said, I think the White House would love if everybody booked Steve King 24 hours a day. Anyway, this is Congressman King reacting to reports that President Obama is planning to act on immigration reform without Congress.
I think Congress has to sit down and have a serious look at the rest of this Constitution, and that includes that I word that we don't want to say. Where would we draw the line otherwise? If that's not enough to bring that about, then I don't know what would be. We've never seen anything in this country like a president that says, I'm going to make up all immigration law that I choose, and I'm going to drive this thing regardless of the resistance of Congress.
So is there a game of chicken going on here? I mean, I don't want to. Let's look at it down the middle. Could the president's people be looking at this like if they want to be crazy, we'll let them look crazy?
Yeah.
We're making sure everybody sees this behavior. If we hear a nut out there make a nutty comment, we're going to blast it louder. He's not going to get away with just playing it to the peanut gallery out there and to the red hots. We're going to make sure everybody hears the red hot talk that's being used on radio and used at these town meetings. Everybody's going to hear it.
Absolutely. The president is stoking the fires that they are giving him. This is right now, the Republican Party is the gift that keeps on giving. You look at that clip that we just took a look at. What they are telling us between immigration and suing the president over the Affordable Care Act is our highest legislative priority is, one, deporting young minors, Latino children who are in the country as unaccompanied minors, and forcing the employer mandate of the Affordable Care Act to take place now because they don't like the fact that the president delayed it.
Because this would be considered relief if it was a Republican president.
Well, exactly.
I'm just trying to give these businessmen time to get used to the new law.
Exactly.
All I'm trying to do is give the Republican businessmen a chance. Anyway, White House senior advisor Dan Pfeiffer continues to say that the White House is taking these impeachment threats seriously. Yesterday, Pfeiffer did not back down when confronted by ABC's George Stephanopoulos. This was a good back and forth. I think Pfeiffer won.
It would be foolish to discount the possibility that this Republican Congress at some point in time would consider impeachment.
But the Speaker said it's not going to happen. The chairman of the House Judiciary Committee told me it's not going to happen.
Right. And 5 days before the government shutdown, the Speaker said there's no way we shut the government down over health care. And lo and behold, we did. And in the House of Representatives, John Boehner might have the gavel, but Ted Cruz has the power. And so I don't
really think impeachment is possible.
When the House takes an unprecedented step to sue the President of the United States for even though he is issuing executive orders at the lowest rate in 100 years, I think it'd be foolish to discount the possibility.
Mike, I always say that the key to Sunday television, any other television, what we do every night, be ready to ask the question 3 times because they'll dodge it 3 times.
Right.
What Pfeiffer did, that has 3 different answers. So George did keep pushing and pushing. Are you serious about impeachment? Are you serious about impeachment? Are you serious about impeachment? And every time he had a new answer.
And he was right. And they'd better be serious about impeachment. I mean, I don't know what the chances are, but of course, they impeached Bill Clinton. They've been talking about impeachment for years. They'd be idiots at the White House not to take this seriously. And you also have to remember, John Boehner doesn't run that caucus. That caucus runs John Boehner. I mean, this is the second showdown that he's lost with Ted Cruz. And they're having this Benghazi hearing, which the Red Hots want. The caucus runs. Well,
let's hit all the points of the erogenous zone, if you don't mind me saying so, because we're going to go around the robin here and show it's not just the people who are crazy, but people with brains. Here's Rand Paul, certainly a smart guy. He rallied his base in Iowa today, attacking President Obama as a king after the White House said the president will act alone on immigration since Republicans in Congress don't do anything. Here's Senator Paul at the highest level of the crazy car. Here he is.
Who does he think he is? I mean, he's going to act without the authority of you or your congressman. He's just going to act. It doesn't matter what your opinion is on immigration. I frankly think we could do some kind of reform. But you can't do it by royal edict. We can't have a king doing it. You can't have lawlessness. And you can't have a president just say, if they won't act, I will. I have a pen. I have a phone. I will act. That's not what our country's about.
Now, there's the sophisticated challenge, which I think is a good challenge. We'll talk about who has power and who doesn't. Here's liberal commentator and Fox News analyst Juan Williams, a good guy. He went off on the CEO of Heritage Action, Michael Needham, after Needham said that the Democratic fundraisers were the only people talking about impeachment. Here's the great Juan Williams.
There are lots of Republicans who think this man's a demon. This guy's awful. We got to get this guy out of here any way we can. He's breaking the law. All the Democrats are doing is taking advantage of the fact that you guys have demonized President Obama to this extent, because it's not only does it help them with fundraising, lots of people, especially in the minority community, see it as an attack on the first black president, think it's unfair, and so it's going to spur their turnout in midterms, which is going to be critical in several races.
How are you hearing this impeachment talk?
Well, I hear it the same way Juan does. I mean, I think he hits the nail on the head, and particularly as a human being, you should see it this way, but particularly as an African-American, you think about Joe Wilson yelling, "You lie," when the president spoke addressing a joint session of Congress. You think about Jan Brewer shaking her finger in the president's nose when she greeted him in Arizona, and then you look at this and you can't help but think, what's wrong with this picture? Would they do this to a white president? They would have never done this to Bill Clinton, and they hated him. It would have never happened.
How about the way Mitt Romney talked down to him in that first debate?
Well,
it's a lot of that stuff's subtle.
It's subtle, but you feel it, and it's not a figment of the imagination.
Those are the more blatant examples. Thank you so much. By the way, I don't think Rand Paul belongs actually in the clown car, but he was singing backup today. Anyway, thank you, Michelle Bernard, and thank you, Michael Tomasky. Coming up.